Most people routinely use debit cards for all transactions, no matter how big or small. I know I do all the time. But there are some places where using a debit card could really cost you. Unfortunately, that is the truth. And Skip Cowen and our very good friend Emily New, who looks beautiful today, by the way, of Focus Foundation, are back to tell us the 5 places we should never use our debit card. Well, first of all, welcome back.
Well, thank you. Good to be here.
It's great to have you, as usual. Really good advice every time. And like I said, I always use my debit card. So I'm a little bit confused. Why shouldn't I and where shouldn't I?
Well, there are basically 5 places where you shouldn't use your debit card. And this is not information that came to us through a vision. We actually have done some research on this. Number 1 is for a rental or security deposit.
Oh.
Now, for example, if you're renting a car, something like that, keep in mind that when you put that debit card down, that money comes out of your account. It could be out for days before you get it back. Even when you bring the car back, they don't necessarily credit your account immediately. So the best place there is probably a credit card.
The credit card will just hold it for you, like when you're making a hotel reservation.
That's what I was going to say.
They won't charge it right away. Usually gets charged after you stayed at the hotel. But when the money comes out, it's so much harder to get it back in. It's kind of the whole point of this.
Exactly.
That's a good point. And I would have never thought of that ever. Okay. So now what would be the second place?
The second place, Emily?
The second place is going to be with restaurants and bars, and it's not so much a fraudulent thing like you're worried that your server is going to steal the account number on your credit card or something like that. More likely you're going to have an issue with some sort of business transaction. For example, maybe their internet connection might go down when they go to swipe the card, so your card might get swiped twice. So say you're at this restaurant and your dinner was $50. Well, if they have to swipe it twice, 2 $50 transactions are going to pen to your account.
Is that why when you check your account sometimes the night after you go out and then it says at 650 you had $3,000, and then whatever, and then you're like, oh, and then it says $3,000 last night, and you're like, wait, they already said that. That's the worst.
It's a pending transaction.
Ever, but
it's a pending transaction, so you're not going to get charged twice for 2 meals. You're only going to get charged once, but they're pending, and so it's just checking your account to make sure that the funds are in there.
So let me ask you this: let's say you do that, and it's only pending, but then you go to get gasoline, and it's $50. Does that mean that $50 isn't there anymore because it's pending?
It could potentially overdraw your account.
Exactly. Or you get denied, because if you've opted out, it means that they can't charge you overdraft fees, and so you just the transaction just won't happen. That can be a nightmare. I mean, think about that. 2 o'clock in the morning, you're trying to get home, and you're out of gas. Now what?
Now, does this count if it's a check card? I mean, let's say it's your debit card, but it's also a Visa at the same time, and you don't do your PIN, but you just use it as credit. Is that the same thing?
Same deal.
It's still gonna pend.
Same deal. Wow. Now, we recommend that bars, restaurants use cash if you can. That's probably the absolute best way to protect yourself.
You don't want to use credit when you're paying for those things that you're consuming right away, because you don't want to be racking up interest on those kinds of charges.
That makes great sense. I'm so glad you just told me this. I'm the worst. Okay, what's number 3?
Number 3 is regular payments. Now, by that I mean payments like at a gym where you've signed up and you got a regular thing. You give them your debit card. If you go to cancel that contract, keep in mind those people have already got your number. They can go ahead and withdraw from your account, and getting it back is a lot tougher than you might think.
Yes, I've been in that experience.
So you don't want to put yourself in that kind of situation. Again, we recommend a credit card or pay as you go.
And really think about before you sign up for some sort of year-long commitment, whether it's the gym or any other program, because if you decide to pull out, there could be early termination fees, things that are going to cost you a little extra money.
Good thing to think about. A lot of us don't think about that in the moment because we get excited and we hear deals. Usually a good deal if you do something in advance, but great point. And so number 4?
Number 4, we have like Wi-Fi hotspots. You're at Starbucks, you're at a local eatery. Don't be using those places with your sensitive information, looking on social networking sites, things like that. They cost a lot of money too. If it's not a free Wi-Fi, like maybe at Starbucks, say you're paying $10 for 10 minutes and you're there for an hour, you're going to be racking up a lot of money.
Especially in hotels, that happens a lot too, when you go down to the lobby and they give you the service of the computer, and then it's the worst. And then all of a sudden you've just spent $50 to use the computer to check your email.
It's absolutely crazy, but keep this in mind. My son works in the IT field as a security expert. He tells me that you go to a Wi-Fi spot like Starbucks, etc.
And everybody
he can hack into that system within a matter of seconds. He can tell you what you're talking about on your email, what kind of transactions you've made, and he can be sitting way across the restaurant. You can't even see him.
Wow, something to really think about.
You need to be very careful.
Good advice, Skip. And what would number 5 be?
The last one is, and this is something that I don't necessarily totally agree with.
Okay.
But it's any retail outlet where you're given the option of debit or credit.
Okay.
As you said, you got a card that has Visa on it. It's a debit card, but you can say debit or credit. Now, Emily takes the other side of this because she believes it's probably true. What does it mean when I say debit or credit?
Well, typically what we think is debit comes out of your account right away, within like 30 seconds. Well, the problem with that is things are not that instantaneous. Your bank is not connected to hundreds of thousands of merchants or retailers around the country, so it doesn't happen right away. So now whether you select credit or debit, I believe that you should do credit just because you don't have to put in your PIN.
That's what I do.
Exactly. Less
I don't
likely,
like to put in my PIN.
Right.
Yes, less likely you're going to be a victim of fraud, which is great. Either way, it's probably going to take, depending on how the retailer or the merchant batches their postings. It could happen that day, it could happen the next day. If it's a smaller place, they're probably not posting every single night. Maybe Walmart does it every single night.
Okay.
So I say do credit. Be aware of how much money you have in your account. It's not up to the retailer, it's not up to the bank, it's up to you to know how much money is in the account.
Yeah, because that's the trap. Because you call and the bank has a balance for you, and if you haven't kept track, you don't know.
Just like you said, those pending transactions.
This is such good advice. And I want to actually, before we go any further, I want to readdress something that we talked about last week. Because last week, they said that setting aside maybe $300 a month or 10% of what you're earning could actually help you have an additional $18,000 nest egg in 5 years. And I said that I don't think I could save $300 even in a month. So is there a savings program for people who are having some trouble with their savings plans?
Well, I can tell you that I'm one of those people too.
You are? Okay.
I am. And I have a difficult time saving money.
Okay.
But I discovered something about 5 or 6 years ago. I mean, I didn't discover it. Somebody told me about it. But it really does work, and it's absolutely painless. What I do is every transaction I make with a debit card, or when I write a check, I round it up. So if it's $25.01, I write down 26.
And
I keep track of my balance that way. Now, I know what kind of cushion I've got. And at any given point in time, at 2 or 3 months into it, I'll take that cushion, transfer it into a savings account where it's beginning to get interest. And you know, I didn't even notice I saved the money.
See, that's great. Great advice, both of you. Thank you so much. And even for the security issues, we really appreciate all the great advice you give. And Skip and Emily actually have created a unique online personal finance program that's reaching millions of students in all 50 states. So for our viewers who missed it, where can they find you?
FocusOnTheFuture.tv.
I like that.
And our first program will be posted on Thursday for this semester. Look forward to that. It's going to be a good one.
Oh, fantastic. And of course, you can see today's segment and get those tips that you gave and write them all down and keep them in mind right here at Casa.com. Thank you both so much for being here.
Thanks for
Looking
having
forward
us.
to the next visit. All right, now you got 20 minutes. I think you could find 20 minutes. Personal trainer Karin Von Olst has a high-intensity workout that will kick your booty.